Hi, I'm Sarah Norman. I wanted to talk to you about two specific things related to the charter, and I came specifically to O'Brien Cemetery just to show it off. One of the aspects requires your immediate attention as you're making corrections to the charter, and the other I hope will prove instructive as you're looking towards making some changes in those specific provisions. The first element is about the population of the various boards. In section 8.04, the park board says it'll have 5 to 7 members. In section 8.06, the cemetery board will have 5 to 7 members. In section 8.07, the tree commission has 5, the planning commission has 7, the board of zoning and building appeals has 5, 9.06, the architectural review board will have 7 members. In 11.01, the Personnel Advisory and Appeals Board will have 3 members, and finally, Charter Review Commission gets 7 to 11 members. Now, while I hope you would thoughtfully consider and inquire with each of the boards and commissions as necessary about what their real numbers for getting the work done are, the correction you absolutely must change is about the range that is provided for. Why does the range need to be changed? Isn't it flexible? Well, the reality is it's open to abuse, and in fact, it's regularly abused to the detriment of the citizens in Hudson. The range serves no purpose for the administration of the city's business. To illustrate the abuse of the flexibility, let me tell you about my experience applying for the cemetery board in 2016. There were 2 empty seats available on a board of 5. At least that's what the public was told. I was the only applicant on the day of the deadline for those 2 seats. Miraculously, 2 weeks later, at the exact same moment, on the exact same day, 3 additional applications came in. Now, I wasn't privy to the conversations that went on with council about how to rectify this and how the interviews were going and everything, but I later learned that quite a stink went up within council about the manifest unfairness, or at least the appearance of it, for soliciting an excessive number of applications for the seats for the board after that deadline. I was told years later that council actually came to a resolution equitably assigning the seats, basing it on the merits of the applicants. Now, from the perspective of the citizens, while that solution was fair, it was actually still the wrong answer. If we're entitled to have 7 members and a number of people totaling 7 have applied, how is it that council can decide to cut the number of board members? On what basis is that limitation made? What recourse do the electors have? Are our expectations to have a full board unreasonable if that number of members is explicitly contemplated by the charter and willing volunteers have applied? You yourselves know what this process is like, having applied for a seat on the Charter Review Commission. While the applications were still pouring in, council came to a point of deciding that only 9 people would be on the Charter Review Commission. With 26 or so applicants, was that right or fair for council to make that decision to have one smaller than the charter contemplates? What recourse do the citizens have for that choice? You might feel like 9 voices is a great deliberative body and working very well together. Does this mean 11 would have been bad? Were we cheated in the years when that Charter Review Commission only had 7? I'm not advocating for a specific number. What I am advocating for against is the range of members that appear on these various boards. That range is what you need to fix. It doesn't serve a specific need within the administration of the city's business. It becomes an opportunity for abuse for which there is no recourse. The people deserve to know what the work of these boards requires and what level of volunteer staffing is appropriate for that work. This is not a range of 5 to 7 or 7 to 11 where you can increase the board by 50%. These are finite, concrete, specific numbers. Now, my second issue that I want to call your attention to is related to the functioning of the cemetery board itself. You'll see in my notes on the outline that I gave to you all that I question the purpose of the language of the board as being an advisory committee. Now, obviously, all of the boards and all of the commissions are to a certain extent advisory to council. However, if you contrast the language related to powers and duties for the park board, the tree commission, planning commission, and the architectural review board with the paltry charge that's given to the cemetery board, it makes one wonder what exactly is the value of the cemetery board to council. When you couple that with the fact that our council liaison did not appear at a meeting for a year, I don't think council got very much value out of us. Let me tell you what the cemetery board does. Management of the cemeteries and provision of appropriate burial space is a public service offered to the citizens of Hudson at cost. And we offer it to non residents for a slightly higher fee. In my 3 years on the board, we have researched and authorized the purchase of columbarium, reviewed the quarterly finances of the operations because we are a self sustaining entity, supported local Eagle Scout candidates by finding appropriate projects for them, looked for better ways to secure our historic cemeteries, like O'Brien, and most recently, we've been scouting for new land that would be appropriate for a new cemetery location because in the next 5 years, we will probably run out of space. It would be great if some of these powers and duties were specified in the charter, clarifying it as within our jurisdiction to advise council on. I'm attaching proposed language for powers and duties to add to the subsection 8.06, and I hope you will include it in your final version of the charter. Thank you again for all of the work you were doing to make this the best possible document to govern the city.